the best player on the Heat, you have to be averaging 20. Or like 25, you know? And LeBron had even more eyes on him because he definitely came second in the MVP race behind Derrick Rose. And some people think he should have won it, myself included. You know, so there were a lot of eyes on him because other people thought LeBron could have won it. So there was a lot of eyes on LeBron. And he had already won back-to-back MVPs before that year. So he could have had a three-peat of MVPs. You know, like when you win back-to-back MVPs and come second the next year, it's going to be plenty of eyes on you. Especially when you just left. I mean, the expectation, it was a lot of pressure to put on a 25-year-old. You know, but also he did kind of bring a lot of it upon himself. Because he left because he thought he wasn't going to win a championship in Cleveland. So now there are going to be even more eyes on him. Like, okay, you left to win a championship. Let's see you win a championship, you know? Then he came second. You know, the expectations just grew more and more as the season went on, you know? And LeBron just was not ready for that. Then when they went up 2-0, melted down. You know, that's a lot of mental. It wasn't because LeBron was a bad player. LeBron has not averaged under 20. I think the least amount of points he's averaged is 20. And that was in his rookie year. I think other than that, he's averaged at least 25 points every year. I'd have to look at that a bit. Yeah, you know, but LeBron basically never, averages less than 20. Hold on, I'm going to check this real quick. Yep. This season he averaged 25 on the dot. That's the closest he's gotten to under 25. You know, he averaged 20.9 his rookie year. Other than that, everything's been above 25. So LeBron, it wasn't a talent thing. It was a mental thing. Couldn't handle the pressure. All right. So now, I'm actually going to do it now. Oh, now. My bad. Voice crack. All right, I'm actually going to do it now. I'm going to count down my top 10 NFL teams. Then I have a lot more to cover, actually. This podcast is going to be a little long, I think. But, all right, my top 10 NFL teams. Here we go. All right, so number 10 is the Packers. Aaron Rodgers coming back definitely gives them a big boost. The reason I would have them a lot higher here. Normally, I'd have them a lot higher. But, I said in one of my first podcasts, actually, the louder you are, typically the worse you are. You know, the more drama you have, the worse you are. Like, think about this. Even loud fan bases. Like, loud fan bases aren't good. Like, the Steelers, they're a loud team. The Eagles, loud team. And, the Steelers did pretty good this season, but it's like they always, like, in the last, 10 years, what has it been? It's been, great regular season, terrible playoffs for the Steelers. That's what it's been. And the Eagles have not been good in the last, 10 years. They had, a 2-year run where they were good. They won a Super Bowl, obviously, but that was about it. The louder you are, typically the worse you are. And I just don't know. The Packers roster, the Packers roster is not the problem. They got the best receiver in the league, according to many people. I was saying, around December, I kept saying DeAndre Hopkins is the best. Because I didn't... That's the problem with being, like, a fan of a team and then thinking one of your players is the best. Like, people think you're being biased, but you're really not. Like, you actually think, you know. So I was actually just saying DeAndre Hopkins was the best, so no one yelled at me. But then I started seeing people accept that Devontae Adams was. So they got the best receiver in the league. I'd say a top 5 running back in Aaron Jones. Or top 7, wherever you want to put him. Aaron Rodgers, a easy top 3 quarterback. Now you have, on the offensive side, now you have the offensive line, which is actually very complex. Last year, they were phenomenal. But since the end of last year, since that NFC Championship game, obviously Bakhtiari has been injured. We don't know if he's going to be available. I mean, he tore his ACL, so I mean, he'll be out for a bit. But I mean, he tore it last year, so he should be back at the beginning of the season, but we don't know. We're unsure of Bakhtiari's health. We lost Corey Linsley, so I mean, a lot of questions on the offensive line. I'd say they're top 10 still. So their offense is great. Not to mention their coach. Definitely one of the best offensive coaches in the league. I'd say a top 10, top 12 coach in the league. Overall. And then on the defensive side, we have great players. Obviously, Jair Alexander, top 3 corner. And then there's only like one other guy. I mean, Kenny Clark is actually Pro Bowl caliber, so he's not bad. There's only one other guy. Like, there's 3 guys on their defense that I really like. Alexander, Kenny Clark, and then I love Zadarius Smith. I really do. The problem is his contract, I think, is up after this season, so we don't know if he'll be back. But Zadarius Smith, I think is the most underrated. I think he's the second best outside linebacker in the league. Go ahead, you can call me crazy. I don't care. This guy, I mean, TJ Watt's obviously better than him. I'm not going to dispute that. But you got to give it to me. Zadarius Smith, you got to give it to him. I think he's the most underrated, you can argue the most underrated player in the league. Let's see this. In the last 2 years. I hardly even knew who he was before he hit. I mean, 37 quarterback hits last year, 23 this year, 17 tackle for loss last year, 12 this year. Now, this is the big one. 13.5 sacks last year, 12.5 this year. You know, and the last 2 years he's made a Pro Bowl, but I think he should make first team All-Pro. Or at least second team, I don't know. But, you know, I really think this guy, he is so underrated. I really think he's underrated. But, so the Packers roster is amazing, but the drama, I think, is a little rough, and the O-line has too many questions, and they do have a tough schedule, so I'm going to put them at number 10 right now. And it's actually interchangeable. Like, I could actually put other teams at number 10 and ahead of them. Because, like, the problem is, like, so I think normally about 5 of the teams that I have in this top 10 are going to stay there the entire season. A couple of them will be in and out. And then there's going to be one that's out of here. And then there's going to be one team, one young team that surges, you know? I can see that being the Cardinals, the Chargers. Those are the 2 top contenders to pass the Packers right now. But, you know, that's normally what happens. When you do your power rankings before the season, it's normally 5 teams stay in the top 10. A couple teams get in and out. And then one young team surges. All right, so I just spent like 5 minutes on my number 10. My number 9 is the 49ers. Now, I have zero concerns about them. They need much higher. I have zero concerns other than their quarterback. The reason they're not higher on this list is because I have questions about Jimmy G's health. Now, 19 of their 22 starters are returning. So only 3 players left. But I'm very concerned about Jimmy G's health. I love Trey Lance, but he's hardly played football the last 2 years because North Dakota State didn't play this year. And although I think if he did play this year, he'd be the number 2 prospect behind Trevor Lawrence, but I love Trey Lance, but I like him for the future. I don't like him if he were to play this season. If Jimmy G got injured and Trey Lance got in this season, I don't love it. Now, I think their defense is good enough to hold up a bit, but I don't see them winning the division, the NFC West. I'll tell you whose division I think it is. I thought it was the Rams at first, but... And actually, it leads me down to my next one. Number 8 is the Rams. I thought they'd win the NFC West like a couple weeks ago. But this Cam Akers injury really ruins their run game. Because who is their number 2? Who is their number 2 behind Cam Akers? I love Cam Akers. I think he's great, but the problem is there anyone behind him now that he's torn his ACL? No one that I know of. So I'm very worried about that. I think they come in second still, maybe. I mean, if the Niners can contend, I think the Niners can win, honestly. If Jimmy G stays healthy, they win the NFC West. Problem is, I don't know if they will. And, I mean, a big problem. I mean, this Akers injury is a bigger problem than people think. It is. It's bigger than some people think, and it's smaller than some people think as well, if you know what I mean. Because some people don't think it's that big a deal, but it is, because McVay's playbook has relied on great defense and power running the ball. Because Jared Goff wasn't able to do that well. He wasn't a very good quarterback. The good news is Matthew Stafford is an upgrade. So, they're going to be better on the passing game. So they don't need the run game as much, but they have no number 1 back. So I'm a little concerned about that. All right. Number 7 is the Colts. The main concern I'm hearing about this team is, of course, Carson Wentz. That does not shock me one bit. I personally like that he's reunited with Frank Reich, the guy that coached him to an MVP season in 2017. I think Frank Reich is a great offensive-minded coach. His defense can use some work, but he's done a pretty good job at that. I think he's going to do a great job with Carson Wentz. And the good news is, because I think Carson Wentz is going to take a bit to get back to that form, the good news is Jonathan Taylor, I think, is the real deal. And also, he's not going to get hit a lot. Like, think about this. He was, I think he was the most sacked quarterback last year with the Eagles. I think the Colts might have the top 3 O-line. And Jonathan Taylor is the real deal, so whenever Carson Wentz is kind of out of it and starting to, if Carson Wentz doesn't look like he's going to have a good game, he can just turn to Jonathan Taylor, hand off the ball. But the good news for Carson Wentz is you're going to have a lot of time to throw the ball with this great offensive line. And you're not going to have to throw every play because Jonathan Taylor is your running back. Also, I think their defense is underrated. So the Colts, I'm very high on the Colts. The only reason they're not even... I would put them even higher, but I am also a little concerned because I don't know for